You've been probably waiting for me to say this for years and years and years and years on end. You've been begging, you've been pleading, you've been crying, praying every will to see these again. With that said, I bid you welcome to season one of Vaulting. It's been an interesting process in the making, to say the least. These have not been seen since quite a long time, actually. Um, this is pretty much what, kicked off the whole series, and it became what it was. I just remember looking back on it finally making the very first episode. I was in community college at the time. I was picking up, stuff on broadcasting and telecommunications, and I had this YouTube channel, and I had this emotional, irrational fear that at some point I would run out of TV shows and movies to upload, and I figured, maybe a web show would be the best thing to do. And I had two rattling around in my brain at the time, one doing DVD reviews, which would be later called DVD Talk with Film Buff. The other one, which got made first, was talking about movies and TV shows and stuff, and that's where it got me. That's where I am today. I know I'm filming this here when Christmas is coming up, but, it's a nice little announcement to say that this is like a little bit Christmas gift to you. But the reason why I've held off on showing these episodes again, or re-uploading them and stuff, they've had a sense of feeling unfinished. And on top of that, they were rendered at the time when I didn't know too much about video quality and HD and all that sort of stuff. It just felt very new to me. I didn't really care. But that's how it is. Sometimes when we start off new, we don't really know too much about certain things. So a lot of these episodes had to go back through the editing process and just sort of touched up a little bit. Not really in means like, digital effects with random things. Just basically recolorization, stabilizing the audio a little bit here and there, and just fixing up a couple of things just to make it, nice and pretty. There's another reason why I've been holding back on sending these up. Basically, from season 1 all the way to half of season 3, they were always ad-libbed. There was never any script, there was never any, just like this video right now, there was never any kind of scripting done. I always felt like I never had any time to do it. I just plopped down, camera in front of me, went off on the fly, and that was just about it. So that's really another reason why you never got to see these episodes again. Well, through trial and effort, I decided to re-upload them again, but with a little bit of a price. You see, I want these to be professional looking. I want these to be, really nice looking. And for those who are newcomers of the show, and they come across something like, this... growing up, there was something... growing up, there was something major networks like ABC and NBC and even Hallmark Entertainment were doing at the time in order to keep the ratings up. Every year or so, they would take a classic tale and adapt it into a 2-night event or just a Sunday night movie showing. Yeah, picture that times 10. That's really painful. So I had to go back, reevaluate each episode individually as they were, and treat them as like a little separate mini-movie in a sense, and know exactly what to fix, what to touch up, what to tweak around and stuff. I don't want to say anything to set, fans off, but I guess to put it in the right perspective, it's not really like George Lucas, where I'm, adding pointless things back in and, having like a random musical sequence or anything like that. It's basically go back and kind of giving it a more of a fine polish. And when you look back into history, this is something that's not really new. There's certain directors that have gone back and readjusted their movies, and stuff. I know Charlie Chaplin did it with the Gold Rush. He had like an ending or a coda nixed off, just to keep it sort of up to date. I know Steven Spielberg did like 2 versions of Close Encounters, because he felt the first one was unfinished. And I think in the case of this series, going back and retouching up a couple of things is probably for the best. There's a lot of awkward pauses, some weird cuts here and there. Everything was just everything was reevaluated to the very last decimal, the very last frame, if it was something small. But on top of that, you're also going to get like some nice new film footage in there that gives it more of a spec'd up kind of feel. any bits involving myself, I had to work with what I got. The least I could do is just touch up the color a bit. It's more of a case of what was rendered at the time was what got rendered at the time. So you're going to see a very small kind of. Well, I didn't want it to look like a small quality file, so I did as much as I could to at least, preserve in the best quality possible. So at the very least, you won't have like a really grainy, blurry kind of image. You might a little bit, but like I said, it is what it is. It was the best I could do. I guess to put in perspective what to expect going into this, remastered ordeal, it's pretty much going back and looking at a rough draft that you did, and you're going to publish it, and you realize there's like grammar and spelling mistakes, and you sort of realize to yourself, I can't sound like this. It doesn't look that good. There needs to be some fine tuning and stuff. That's pretty much what it is. It's going back to a rough draft that you thought was finished, and then you realize, oh shoot, there's something I should have fixed up here. But for those who are new to the series, you might not notice some of these unless you're really trained to the naked ear and eye of all things. But those who have been around and have seen the show, you're going to look at this in a completely new light. There is some new material here and there, but spliced in at the appropriate spots. If you want a good example, I recommend checking out when I did the Lost episode upload on Manic Expression. That's when I showed a little sneak peek of an episode to give you a little taste. But yeah, just keep in mind, when it comes to Season 1, it was a time when I didn't have much of my identity, I didn't have much of a control on things. I sort of just went in and said, I don't care what I'm going to do, I don't care what's going to happen, I'm just going to go in and just make something. And that's really what it was. And it was for the best and the worst kind of natural causes. So I was really shy back then. This is when I was, entering community college and stuff and learning the bits and ins and outs of filming stuff and working with cameras and lighting and all that sort of things. And I think the first season was sort of a learning curve, because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be able to advance on and make, what the show would later become today, which is a sit down, let's talk about these weird things you never heard about, or maybe you have, but haven't revisited them in a while. And so, if it wasn't for Season 1, there would be no ground zero. There would be no platform to jump off of and nowhere to improve and what to do. And I think that's the good thing about it, but at the same time, a little painful for me to rewatch. But even then, it's kind of nice to go back and reminisce about a couple things. Like, oh yes, I remember when I filmed this episode, or oh yeah, I remember when I made this decision, editing, and all that. They're nice touches. They're definitely nice touches. I don't look back upon this season with much fondness. But at the same time, it was still worth it.